Well, good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Coffee with a Coach. It's so nice outside, I thought we'd just go ahead and have our coffee outside. Plus, I wanted to show you my newest gadget. Now, this over here is what you call a rain barrel. Now, the rain barrel is a really neat idea, and the reason it's such a good idea is actually right over here. What you see over here, and this is in my backyard, these plants are called skip laurels. When we first moved into this neighborhood, we had some really tall Leland cypresses. Now, a Leland cypress is a tall bush, and it was so big and thick that we didn't even know there was a house back here. Well, these Leland cypresses got some kind of a tree virus or something, and they started dying, so we had to cut them down last year. And in their place, we had to put something, and so we decided to put these skip laurels in. It's probably going to be a good 5 years before they provide some type of privacy here, which is kind of important because the people here have a bunch of little kids that make a bunch of noise. And so we put these in. The challenge is that skip laurels take a lot of water. Last year when we put them in, we had a water bill over $700, and that was just unsat. And so this year we decided, since we actually got a couple more skip laurels, we would put this rain barrel in. Now let me show you how the rain barrel works. The rain barrel actually takes in water from this downspout, which is up here on the roof. So you rain up there on the roof, or it rains, the water runs down the downspout, and it goes right in here to the back of this rain barrel. And this thing holds about 60 gallons of water. And once the water goes in there and it fills up, and you could let it out right down here, it's got this little device right here in the back. And what this device does right here is that it shuts off, and so once the barrel's full, the rest of the water goes right down that pipe, and then it gets piped out into the middle of the yard. Now, what does that have to do with Coffee with a Coach? Well, think about this for a minute. If I'm trying to save money on water, and I use the water in the rain barrel, that's a good thing. But if I never tap this water, what happens is it gets stagnant. Pretty soon you get mosquitoes in there, and it gets all nasty. Meanwhile, anytime any fresh water comes down that downspout, there's not going to be any room for it, so it's going to run off and get wasted. The smart thing to do would be to open this thing up, water your plants with it, then when the next rainstorm comes, it fills back up. Works pretty well. It's kind of like knowledge in a sense when you think about it. Knowledge is what you take in. Knowledge is what you learn, you hear, you read about, and wisdom is taking that knowledge and using it the right way. So if you think about it this way, think about the water coming down, that's knowledge. Stored up in here. If you just store it in here, it doesn't do you any good. You let it out and use it, it does all the benefits that you want it to. Of course, now how you use it is pretty important too. I could show you out the door right here. This is my garage. That house over there with that little red truck, they have a dog named Sandy. And Sandy is a very annoying dog. The problem with Sandy is that Sandy gets in my garbage, tears the garbage all up, and then I gotta go pick it up. Now, part of me wants to go over and strangle that dog, but I also know that I gotta live next to these people. So the wise thing says you patiently go over and say, hey, your dog's been in the garbage again. Can you go and take care of it? What maybe knowledge would tell me to do is to beat that dog. Of course, there's going to be consequences for it. So this week, as you're thinking about it, number one, how much knowledge are you actually taking in and using? If you think back on some of my other blog posts, I always talk about how people come to my workshops and they all want all this fancy stuff and new information, and yet they haven't used what they've already heard. So the first thing you want to do is be able to store it up, but use it. The second thing is use it wisely. What is the wise thing to do rather than what is the smart thing to do? It takes probably having a deep breath, thinking about it before you do your action. So think of yourself as a rain barrel. Think about what you're doing with that water. Make sure it's productive, and think about that as you go on through this week. Okay? So that's all we got for this week. Hope you have an awesome week. Email me, coach@contactmycoach.com. You can go on my website, askthecoachrightnow.com, or of course you can call me at 281-8-COACH-8. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week on Coffee with the Coach.